promote the region as well as foster economic integration among member states. In his short remarks, the newly elected chairman and governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, who acknowledged the task ahead of the forum, revealed that Monday's meeting was the first in about 3 years, saying it underscores the commitment and determination to ensure that the southern states occupy that place of pride. Residents of Akure have expressed concern over incessant flooding due to inadequate drainage and poor channelization, leading to property damage and health hazards during the rainy season. Floods in some neighborhoods in the state capital makes it impossible to move around, putting both residents and motorists at risk. Osrc's Tosin Adebowale completes the story.
Akure, the Ondo State capital, is experiencing a familiar yet troubling situation as the rain continues to pour down, with many people having to deal with the effect of inadequate drainage infrastructure. The poor condition of the city's water channel has become a major worry. Many homes have experienced flooding, leading to property damage and the displacement of several families. The stagnation of water has also raised fear of waterborne diseases as residents struggle with the challenges of inadequate proper channelization. An educationist, Adelugba Adekombi from Odo Ijoka, voiced his annoyance at the poor state of the water channel, claiming that people in the environment are always trapped whenever it rains.
Nobody will be able to go to use our homes or our business places, like our schools there. Whenever there is rain, we cannot go to the school. It makes it difficult for the pupils to come to the school environment. So in that case, we employ the government and we beg them to help us to intervene. And you know, some people that are living in this environment, it affects them. Some of them are they pack out of this environment.
Mr. Jolly Adi, a businessman, expressed displeasure at the state government's inaction. He also called on the government to expand the waterway as erosion is eating away the landscape.
If we look at the direction of where the water is coming from, you see that the government still have a little things to still do again here. At the direction of the water now is not going directly where it's supposed to go through. So the erosion is affecting the land of this side. Why it was supposed to come straight and pass directly. So because of this thing now, if we have any heavy rainfall, the water will full up to the stage that it will enter towards the very place.
Mrs. Adeniyi Yusuf, who runs a small fruit stand store at Fuashayi area, lamented low patronage and attributed it to flooding whenever rain falls. She also made a plea to the state government to complete the construction of the channel.
If less as the government help us do it, may they as a hand where they take hold and may they do it completed. It will not be, we for happy, it will not be any problem.
As the rain persists, the Ondo State government faces growing pressure to provide lasting solutions to prevent future crises and ease current difficulties being faced by citizens. Tosin Adebowale, Osrc News.
Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has activated a national cholera emergency center following the outbreak of the disease in the country. This is even as Lagos State government disclosed that the cholera death toll had risen to 29 from the previously reported 24 last week, adding that the total number of suspected cases had risen to 579. Director General of NCDC, Dr. Jide Idris, who spoke in an update on the cholera epidemiological situation in Nigeria, expressed fears that the situation might be compounded as the rainy season intensifies. As part of ongoing prevention and response efforts at the national and sub-national levels, Idris assured that a national cholera emergency operations center has been activated. He expressed regrets that the country is facing another public health emergency, even as it was just coming out of the Lassa fever and meningitis outbreaks. In the meantime, the federal government has called on states and local governments to scale up environmental health surveillance in places where food and drinks are sold nationwide. The Minister of State for Environment, Isaac Salako, who gave the directive in a statement, said the places include markets, garages, schools, restaurants, stadia, religious and sporting events venues. Salako stressed that the measures would help avert further spread and transmission of cholera, as well as aid in the prevention and control of the disease. He also urged all commissioners for environment and the local government chairpersons to support environmental health officers across the country to step up sanitation and hygiene activities through enhanced community-led total sanitation. The minister also said arrangements have been made to support most affected states with chlorine solution or tablets, water and food testing resources to avert further transmission across the country. Away from health-related matter, the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, JAMB, has fixed July 18 for the policy meeting to deliberate on 2024-2025 admissions. The meeting, which is expected to set minimum cutoff marks for the 2024-25 admissions, will be chaired by the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman. In the board's weekly bulletin, it listed stakeholders expected at the meeting to include heads of regulatory agencies, National University Commission and National Board for Technical Education, National Council for Colleges of Education, heads of tertiary institutions in the country, the National Youth Service Corps, among others. The Kano State Judicial Service Commission has imposed disciplinary actions against 3 magistrates and a senior court registrar in the state. The spokesperson for the Kano State Judiciary, Baba Ibrahim, identified the sanctioned magistrates as Talatu Makama, Rabi Abdulkadir and Tijani Majibir. Also sanctioned was the Senior Registrar of Appeal Section, Kano High Court, Abdul Nasir. According to the statement, the Commission reached the decision during its June 11, 2024 meeting, where it adopted the Judiciary Public Complaints Committee JPCC's report on the magistrates. The JPCC, in the second petition, also found elements amounting to judicial bias in handling matters by the Chief Magistrate, while in the third petition, the Magistrates' Court conduct was despicable of a judicial officer, where she was found receiving case and making an order to the police even before the case was directed to her. As France prepares to go to the polls on Sunday, the big issues are immigration and the economy. But in a country where Europe's largest Jewish population and one of the largest Muslim communities, Israel's war on Gaza is affecting how some will vote. Omasheke Olobonde has details.
Every week since early October, somewhere in France, there are protests against the war in Gaza. And candidates in the parliamentary elections are being asked where they stand. On the left, vocal criticism of Israel has made some traditional supporters uneasy. Rema Hassan, who just been elected France's first Palestinian-French member of the European Parliament, acknowledges the challenges they face.
Je veux leur dire en toute humilité qu'aucun parti n'est parfait. I want to tell Jewish voters with all humility that no party is perfect. We are perhaps not yet perfect on progressive issues or gender equality or the fight against discrimination or anti-Semitism. We are humans behind these political organizations. But what we promote is a society where everyone can live as who they are. It is absolutely the opposite of the far right, the only party convicted in court for inciting hatred, discrimination and racism.
But when celebrated, Holocaust historians said he would vote for the far right over the left alliance. It shocked the country. It exposed how troubled some Jewish voters are with the options before them in this election. Adding to the tension, two teenagers from a Paris suburb charged with the rape of a 12-year-old girl aggravated by anti-Semitism. This is a rally to show solidarity. Figurehead of the far left, Jean-Luc, said he would horrified by the crime. But Marine Le on the far right saw an opening to criticize what she called stigmatization of Jews by the far left.
The extreme right seems to be a friend, and I tell you, seems to be, but it's not a friend. We are dealing between an enemy from the extreme left and a false friend from the right. So we need to focus on the center. Why? Because today when you're Jewish, you need to focus, we need to invest on the Republic. And the Republic and democracy is in the middle, it's in the center.
Omosheke Olodonde, Osrc News.
Julian Assange has been freed from prison in the United Kingdom and is set to travel home to Australia after he pleads guilty to a single charge of breaching the espionage law in the United States. 52-year-old Assange will plead guilty to one count of conspiring to obtain and disclose classified U.S. national defense documents, according to a filing in the U.S. District Court for the Northern Mariana Islands. A video posted on X by WikiLeaks showed Assange dressed in a blue shirt and jeans signing a document before boarding a private jet. He will return to Australia after the hearing, the WikiLeaks statement added, referring to the hearing in Saipan. Omoshilela Desoyajayi has details.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange leaving London for a U.S. courtroom in the North Mariana Islands, where he is expected to plead guilty to conspiring to steal and distribute classified documents on U.S. wars and foreign policy. In a video recorded on June 19th, Assange's associates suggest the deal to free him came together in recent days.
I just came out of Belmarsh prison in what I hope is my last visit to see Julian here in this prison where he spent 5 years, 2 months and 2 weeks.
The U.S. Justice Department says that between 2009 and 2011, Assange plotted with military intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning to steal and then publish more than 700,000 pages of classified documents discussing the U.S. wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, U.S. diplomats, emails, and other sensitive material. Assange said he was practicing journalism but took refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London to avoid arrest. Still, the U.S. charged him in 2019 with violating the Espionage Act. Assange spent 5 years in a British prison fighting extradition. Earlier this year, the leaders of the US and Australia suggested they wanted to resolve the matter once and for all. Despite the pending guilty plea, Assange's supporters still call him a hero.
Throughout the years of Julian's imprisonment and persecution, an incredible movement has been formed. A movement of people from all walks of life, from around the world, who support not just Julian, and not just us and our family, but what Julian stands for, truth and justice.
It's not clear what Julian would do when he returns to Australia or what restrictions his homeland will place on him in turn. Omoshiliola Adesoyajayi, Osrc News.
Ministry summoned U.S. Ambassador Lynn Tracy on Monday and accused the U.S. of waging a proxy war and said retaliatory measures would definitely follow. Moscow says the attack was carried out with U.S. weapons, while Washington says Ukraine has the right to defend its sovereignty. Kemisola Ojomo has details.
Says where debris from missiles fired from Ukraine rained down, killing several and injuring over 100 more. Russia described the attack as barbaric. Taking to the microphone at the United Nations, Russia's ambassador repeating the message coming out of Moscow that the United States is responsible.
Ukraine launched 5 US supplied ATACMS missiles armed with cluster munitions. All flight missions were introduced by the US experts based on the US satellite intelligence. An American Global Hawk UAV was patrolling the airspace over the Crimean Peninsula. The beach area packed with peaceful citizens enjoying their weekend and Orthodox holiday was hit. Fire came from the sky on unprotected people who had nowhere to hide.
Washington says it provides the weapons, but Ukraine decides how and when to use them.
We provide weapons to Ukraine so it can defend its sovereign territory against armed aggression. That includes in Crimea, which of course is part of Ukraine. And Russia could stop this war today and end the suffering caused by the war Russia launched today if it would stop its occupation of sovereign Ukrainian territory and stop launching attacks on civilians.
Analysts say how deeply the US is involved in the attack might be hard to determine.
With regards to direct involvement of the United States of America, well, let's put it this way, any weapon system that is using GPS technically, indirectly, is using US data, and this eventually will also have to include some Russian manufactured weapons that have been used in this war. With regards to technicians, US technicians programming the weapons, this is highly unlikely.
The Russian Foreign Ministry summoned the US ambassador over what it sees as direct involvement in the conflict. Moscow has vowed the attack cannot be without consequences. Kemisola Ojomo, Osrc News.
Probe has returned to Earth carrying samples from the far side of the moon. The Changi lunar probe landed in China's northern region of Inner Mongolia today. The successful end of the nearly 2-month-long mission is a boost for China, which is the first country to bring samples back from the hemisphere of the moon that always faces away from the Earth. The China National Space Administration, CNSA, described the mission as a complete success and said the probe is functioning normally. Earlier this month, China landed an uncrewed spacecraft in the South Pole to Aitken Basin, a giant crater on the far side of the moon, where travel and communications are challenging. China became the only country to land on the far side in 2019. The current mission was the first to collect material. And that's World at Noon. Many thanks for your time. Good afternoon.